Yeah.
I'm a mom and pop operation.
Yeah. Let's go back to that the Tiburon case. Go ahead.
So the creativity involved was, he borrowed 2 church passenger vans.
Yeah.
I think the church's name was Fuerza de Cristo or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it was very creative because we couldn't use army vehicles to go and infiltrate those security rings.
Yeah.
Because he was going to know. We couldn't send helicopters because they're going to hear him coming in. And same thing,
Yeah.
So he was really careful. And this one young lieutenant suggested that, and he borrowed 2
He was thinking
vans. outside the box. I mean, completely. Wow. Even for us, we were like, man, we never even thought of that, man. So
true.
So they got these 16 passenger vans and they used it, and that's how they infiltrated the rings. Now, where the guy was holed up, it's a real beautiful area in outside of Monterrey called Santiago, and there's this big lake where everybody goes on the weekends, to swim and boat, and there's a lot of restaurants, and it's a really nice area.
Yeah.
And that's where he was. So part of his mistake was that he had no escape route because behind him was the lake, and there's no way to go.
Yeah, yeah.
And the only other way is up the mountains.
Yeah.
So once we got into those rings, he had nowhere to go. Oh. And that was the big dilemma. And once we got through those rings, he was done.
Yeah, that was the fascinating part of your book that I like. Coming from the tactical side, the way that you guys plan your tactical approaches and your hits and your how you did your surveillance, your mobile surveillance, your fixed surveillance, stuff like that. That was very interesting. It was that was thinking outside the box. When I read that you all were using non-conventional stuff to arrest these individuals, and obviously because they, people think that these individuals probably carry better rifles than we do,
Absolutely.
Better equipment, ballistic vests, intelligence, radio systems. I mean, there are, nothing compared to what we're seeing. I mean, the short times that I was involved in some of the cases, I mean, I was like amazed at how these guys were able to buy all this stuff, but obviously all the money is going south. It's sad.
Right. Yeah. So they have unlimited resources. Yeah. They have all the money, from their drug trafficking that they can use to buy the best of the best. So, that's what we were up against. And you know what? That's one example of the creativity they use. But there's another chapter in there where we went after a guy in San Luis Potosí, and the same thing. They chartered a bus. Yeah. And this was the Army, the ones with the church bus, but the other one, the prior one was the federal police, and they chartered a bus. And the poor bus driver had no clue that what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's keeping a plan,
right?
Yeah.
So that's in one of the chapters too. It's one of the first chapters in there. But the same thing, and like you say, it's thinking outside the box and trying to remain unseen. So
yeah. So. I'm hoping that the current law enforcement that's doing this right now can take away that from your book there, because it talks about a lot of planning process. A lot of time is just sit and wait. Sit and wait and not be too aggressive, but also making sure that these individuals are not compromise safety, but also do not compromise the investigation, but also making sure that be patient.
Sure.
And I think you talk a lot of that in your book, that you guys were very patient, and I think that's what. Well, very positive on your book there, that you all talk about that, because you were always very patient and you were always thinking about contingency plans. What if this happened? What if that happened? Right. And I think that comes with experience and operational experience. That just doesn't come from attending a class.
No, absolutely. Because in my early years here in McAllen, I mean, that's where I learned. It's you got to plan. And what if this doesn't happen? What if this doesn't happen? And sometimes it's annoying to have all these what ifs, but in the end, it makes you think more creatively. So I took a lot of things as a young agent to my time in Mexico.
So what do you say to people that say, well, because of all the violence in Mexico, now that they're classified as a terrorist organization, when people come out and say, United States, if they wanted to, they can just go inside there and wipe out all the cartels.
Well, they probably can, but I think it's going to be counterproductive, because you're going to make because Mexico, it's their own country, you know, and we have to respect their sovereignty at some level. So, and there's going to be, if you undertake an operation like that, there's going to be collateral damage, and people are not going to be happy, you know. So, and unfortunately, if that were to take place, there's bound to be some innocent people that are going to get hurt or killed.
True.
And that's what's going to cause problems, you know. So I think we have to be really careful in what we do. We can't just go and you know, haphazardly
infiltrate.
Go in there.
Right. I mean, there's going to be innocent people that are going to die.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that that's going to happen. Yeah. So,
out of all the success that you've seen in Reign of Terror, if there's one thing that you feel that you were not able to accomplish while investigating, going after this particular organization, there's one thing that you said, I wish I had more time. I wish we would have done something different. I mean, is there something there that still keeps you, you know, not awake at night, but keeps you like, you know, only if we had done this different, this would have been the result?
Actually, and it has nothing to do with the Zetas. There was another subject there in Monterrey that was just as violent, just as psychotic as one of these. Not to that level, but pretty much there.
True.
And he was responsible for killing another friend of mine down there. And I retired before we were able to actually.
Oh yeah, I read that.
Actually, you know, do anything proactively with him. So that's one thing that I regret right there. That I wish I could be there for that. You know,
So the people will know, where are these guys now? Where's Miguel Angel Trevino at? You know,
Miguel Angel Trevino right now is in Washington D.C. in jail. Him and his brother. And a lot of other major traffickers from Mexico are there, including Rafael Caro Quintero, the one who kidnapped Enrique Camarena.
True.
So Miguel Trevino is facing trial. We don't know when the trial is going to be, but hopefully he'll get a conviction, and he's looking at the death penalty. So if anyone deserves it, it's definitely him. So and if he doesn't get it, that's fine. Let him spend the rest of his life in a small cell in the maximum security prison in Colorado. So.
You think there's going to be another Zeta organization?
I think there's never going to be anybody at the level as these guys.
As violent as they were.
If there's somebody that's close right now, it's the cartel de Jalisco.
Yes.
You know, because what they did is they kind of copied this model that these guys used. But you got to remember, the original Zetas were former special forces guys.
Yes.
You know, and that's what makes them stand out from the rest of the other.
Cartels, that's their lead group, you know. Right. That is something that nobody else has. That's only there.
I mean, you might have some trained soldiers or whatever in their cartels, but they're never going to be these guys that were special forces and highly trained individuals.
True. You think that the escalation of violence is going to stop?
Unless some proactive measures are taken right now by the government of Mexico.
And when you talk about proactively, I mean, what exactly more or less you're talking about on the Mexican side? I mean, proactive as to, you know, everybody talks about, you know, hopefully giving the rights of citizens to carry guns.
Well, that's one thing a lot of my friends have told me about, and they would like to have that right like we do here.
Yeah.
You know.
I honestly think that if people had the right to carry guns in Mexico, I mean, there were a lot less violence.
I think so. I think so, because right now the ones that do have them are only the bad guys.
True.
You know, and they get away with anything. You know, if you don't get caught with the gun in your hand and the body right there, you're probably not going to get caught. You know, so a lot of crimes go unpunished over there. So I think having the right to carry over there will deter a lot of that crime.
You think that designating them as terrorist organizations, is that going to make a difference?
Yes, because now we can go after their finances without having to worry about international law and stuff like that. We can use that as a tool to go after them. So yes, it definitely will make a difference. Now, what we need now, and when I say proactive, we need them to start conducting high-level operations against some of the leaders over there. So, so yeah, that's what I mean by proactive and cooperate again with us. Like we used to when the Calderon administration was there. Because right now there's none. And you have agents that are in Mexico City and Monterrey, and they're pretty much strapped to their desk because of the restrictions they have on them. So
I know that law enforcement depends a lot of in this drug investigations because we get asset forfeiture. I mean, obviously, I've been involved in 2 departments, which some of the cases that I was involved, we receive asset forfeiture and we're able to build police department also and get a lot of gear and stuff like that. What would be your message to law enforcement, to law enforcement in general as to, this type of cases? Because obviously you took, not only did you put them in jail, you put a lot of them in jail, but you also took away a lot of their assets and a lot of their money to fund the organizations. What would be a good message for law enforcement to say, that they work in narcotic investigations or long-term, investigations or investigations that we call them, also different investigations that, international investigations.
Yeah, so always money is what makes them function. Money gives them power. You take that away and you've won half the game because without it, they really can't operate. So
you were talking about that these guys were, when you will catch them, they were, had bags of money with them.
Sure.
And there were large amounts of money with them, and that's what funded them, kept them going, and you also talk about that's how they fed all their, the personnel, and sometimes they didn't have money, and they were sometimes, up in the hills and stuff like that, or in safe houses and stuff,
Yeah, so when you ask me how they recruit people, well, with all this money that they generate from the drug trade and other things like kidnapping and extortions and all that stuff, all this is a lot of money that's generated by these guys, and they use it to pay off, the corrupt policemen and politicians and the kids on the street that they use as eyes and ears, So, if you hit them where it hurts, and that's the money, you've won half the battle right there, And I'm not just talking about Mexican cartels. Here in the United States, it's the same thing. Without money, they can't function. So it's not. Don't just focus on the narcotic side of it. Also focus on the money side because that's what makes.
I remember when I started narcotics, I was looking for the big drug bust.
Right.
And there's I got the big drug bust, and I said, you know what? Well, then we're looking for the next big thing was a huge money load. Money seizure, and then after that, it's you know what? Let's go after their assets, their vehicles, their houses, their property, their land, and I think that's a great example of how law enforcement can benefit from, like you said.
It's a tool that we can use, and
wisely, obviously, because you and me know that sometimes this type of job assignments can lead to corruption.
Oh, sure, absolutely, and that's just part of the game, and you got to accept it and say, oh man, I'm not going to talk to that because you're corrupt. There's a saying in DEA in Mexico. Sometimes you have to make a deal with the devil. And you make that deal and you try to get something out of it.
True.
And that's what we had to do down there when we're talking about corrupt officers or officials, and we know it, but I still got to talk to him because I want something out of this guy. So,
which leads me to my next question: is that working, in DEA for so long and working this type of cases, did that make you trust people less?
I would say so because as an agent, you're always taught to be on the lookout and on guard, because you don't know. And sure. I mean, and unfortunately, I think that's not just DEA guys, but a lot of law enforcement guys are like that, because you see so much bad, and you don't want that for your family or anything, So.
And not only that, I mean, now that you are promoting this reign of terror, I'm pretty sure you're packing. You got to be packing wherever you go.
Well, I've been in a lot of
places,
conferences where it's all cops, man. So.
So, what has been the feedback from Mexico on this book right here?
Well, so far it's been very positive. We have the book out in Spanish as well.
Yes,
it's called El Reinado de Terror.
For those of you guys that are watching us, it's also on the Spanish Renataries and in Spanish form as well. A great book,
So the Spanish version has been selling more than the English version. So
really?
I mean, the Spanish version just came out in late June. So it's only been out a couple of months, and it's selling, like there's no tomorrow right now. So
I think Leo, it's a great a great story, you know, and true facts.
Right.
That's what this book, you know, entails. It's not fiction. It's true facts from a 28-year veteran that worked from Brownsville, Texas.
Right.
Winded up, you know, investigating, part of the group that led to the investigation of the most violent cartel in the history of Mexican drug cartels.
Right. And that's one of the things I tell people when they stop by at the conferences, to look at the book and they pick it up and they're wondering what it is.
Yeah.
And I one of the things I tell them is, these are all true stories. There's no Hollywood embellishment in it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, this is all true. It's the real deal, man. So, I think it appeals to a lot of people.
Yeah, it sure
you know?
does.
Yeah,
I mean, because it's and not only that, what I like about your book is that it places you right there next to you. You know, when I was reading, I was like, I wish I was right there. You know, I mean, it makes you feel like, I mean, yeah, let's do it. Let's go get him. You know, yeah. I mean, on the law enforcement side, 36 years of law enforcement. I mean, when I read your book, it's like it made me feel like, I mean, I was cheering for you guys all the way through in every operation. You know, and I was, you know, as I was reading, I was like, damn, you know, they didn't get him this time, you know, next time. And so it kept me going from sentence to sentence to sentence, because I was just very, you know, vested in the fact that, you know, the way that you went after these individuals. And I think that's very powerful, you know, even, you know, for me that, you know, I've been in law enforcement for so long, you know, but, you know, just imagine that young officer coming into law enforcement and, you know, everybody has a choice, you know, or they want to do field training, K9 officer, narcotics, SWAT. So guys that really want to do this. I mean, when I became a law enforcement officer, my first 2 years, I said I want to be a narcotic officer, and I did it for 7+ years. I enjoyed it and so forth, you know. And but I think that's this book, you know, it's a great motivator for those individuals that want to continue on the path, you know, because you and I have met many narcotic officers that's still doing their job right now.
Right, absolutely.
You know, and guys that we work together, you know, in DEA, you know, me as a task force guy and fire PD narcotic officer working alongside you guys. I mean, it was motivating enough for us because we wanted to see the other side of the real world of what's happening, you know, here in the Valley.
So one of the things that captured my interest of what you just said is that you felt like you were there, you know, and as a writer, you always want to capture that feeling. You know, you want to put the reader in that place. You know, so I'm glad that I was able to capture that. And you know, people actually feel it. So
great. So 28 years with DEA, right?
Right.
What was the toll on the family? How did that impact your family?
It was you know, it was pretty tough, But you know, we're glad that we all came out okay. You know, my kids are pretty much grown up. I have my grandkids now. But yeah, it was at the time it was hard. It was really hard. You know,
I told a lot of people going to law enforcement, I said, it's going to be long nights, long days. If you've never been separated, you've never been, you know, away from family, this is the job. You're going to be, you know, for long periods of time, you might be away from your family. And you know, the job entails that, Leo, you know. And
you know what is and I talked to a friend of mine a long time ago about this, about our families. We talk, and he said it's not a tough thing, but for them, they always understand. You know, I'm not going to make it this time because I'm working, I'm doing this. They always understand. You know, and that's what makes our job easier. You know, so
great. You know, out of all the violence that you list in the Reign of Terror, you also talk about many a times places that you went to go eat.
Oh, sure.
Places that you drank, places that you hang out. I mean, the positive side of some of this was that, you know, you also ate good food in Mexico, no?
Well, you can tell, right? You know? So anyway, I didn't want to write only about the bad things. You know? So I wanted to show the people that Monterrey, I wanted to show the beauty of it and how these guys ruined it. And why we were so motivated because we wanted to get Monterrey back to what it was before. And people always ask me, you know, when I was there, they say, when are we going to get back to how we were? And my answer, unfortunately, was never, because these guys are here and they're not going to go away.
I used to remember. I used to remember when we used to walk to Mexico,
Yeah.
without a fear,
Yeah.
without fear of getting robbed or anything.
Right.
Now, you cannot even go to certain places because you're thinking about getting kidnapped,
Sure.
getting
You're
robbed,
on-
getting
you're on
shot
alert.
at,
Yeah.
or being caught up in a crossfire
Right.
of a gunfight.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
So that's what happened también in Monterrey. A lot of people, well, we're not involved in drug trafficking, so we have nothing to fear.
Yeah.
Well, you do, because those two guys that are fighting against each other and shooting each other, you might get caught up in a gunfight, and one of your
and you
kids
talk
might
about
get killed.
that in your
Yeah.
book. I mean,
Yeah.
people were caught.
Yeah.
Innocent people were
Exactly.
usually caught in a gunfight.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's. If you could go back, would you do it all over again?
Absolutely, man, without a doubt. Without a doubt, man.
But more wise now.
Sure,
Obviously.
sure. And if I could keep the knowledge that I have now and go back and do it again, oh man,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's. I think that's great.
I've been asked, you did a lot of undercover. Wasn't that hard? Would you do it again? Without a doubt, man. Without thinking about it twice, I would do it. It was some of the most fun times of my career.
Great. Yeah. What do you think is what some of the mistakes that law enforcement now makes with their young officers, entering this field right here? I mean, what do you think what are some of the barriers that they come across?
Well, I can only talk from my experience, and I would say that sometimes we put them through a lot of pressure initially
to make arrests,
right? Or just to be a part of the group, and hey, you got to do this, or else you're an outcast. I mean, and as a supervisor, I tried not to do that with my young agents that came in, and I try to gradually assimilate them into the environment that we're used to operating in. So I would say that just don't put too much pressure on them right away. Let them evolve
Gradually
slowly, into the role.
A couple of last questions here. So you talk about surviving the cartels in Mexico, obviously because you live in Mexico.
Yeah.
You live in their world.
Right, sure.
And with not enough security, or
Zero
no security.
yeah.
You were your own security.
Right.
You had to build that combative mindset.
Yes.
Right. How do we get there?
Well, like I tell you, man, like I told you earlier, I would wake up, and there were definitely times when I said, I can't do this anymore,
Yeah.
and a lot of things that kept me going was, number one, my faith, and the fact that I could not let, some of these crimes that they committed against our citizens and the citizens of Mexico go unpunished, or go, without having some sort of